Good morning, everybody. Welcome to SMB Mad. We have one of my favorite events of the year today, which is our nonprofit audit. Thank you so much for being here and joining us. For those of you who don't already know what we do, we are an educational board. We teach people about social media, digital marketing through presentations, panel discussions, and case studies. We bring together marketers, PR professionals, students, entrepreneurs, social media enthusiasts over coffee, free coffee provided by the lovely Dream Bank. When we meet the third Wednesday morning of each month, our live events are here at Dream Bank in this lovely space, and we live stream on Facebook and LinkedIn. Please, please, please join our board. We would love to have you. We need people, dedicated people like yourselves who are talented. Please join us. If you think you can't, please trust me, you can. Please ask. Let's be friends. Please use this QR code and find us on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere else socials are. We are everywhere. Please connect with us. Join the conversation. Volunteer. Did I say become a board member? Because become a board member. Blog writer, write our event recaps, facilitate our Facebook group, sponsor an event. We love sponsors. You bring the food and we'll share about your business across our Madison audience, which is pretty vast, and our email marketing is phenomenal. Shout out for a local nonprofit. We love showcasing other local nonprofits. Let us highlight yours. We have a nonprofit spotlight every month. Become a speaker. We are now seeking 2026 topics and speakers. So if you have something you would like to share your expertise on, please hit us up. Thank you to our sponsors. Dream Bank is one of them. We really, really, really appreciate Dream Bank, Serendipity Labs, LiveWell Video. Thank you, Faith. Melissa Carlson, Creative VDub. Thank you so much, Brian, who's right in front of me, Shuttle Stress, and Talent Insurance and Financial Solutions. Andy's going to come up and talk a little bit about Dream Bank right now. Hands up in the audience for who attended the 2025 Dream Bank Dream Summit. Anybody? See, okay, at least one. It was absolutely amazing, and Mel Robbins was their keynote. So pretty sweet. Andy's going to come up and talk a little bit about Dream Bank right now.
Thanks, Genevieve. Good morning, everyone. I say it every third Wednesday. These are my favorite third Wednesdays of every month. And in particular, this is probably, if not, my favorite social media breakfast event of the year, the audit. It's always fun to have all the wonderful panelists provide their insights and wisdoms to some local nonprofits. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. In regards to the Dream Summit, good news. If you didn't happen to see it, you have up to 30 days after the event to go back and rewatch as well. So it was a phenomenal event. We had the Property Brothers, the Scott Brothers opening keynote. Mel Robbins was our closing keynote. This was our seventh annual year of hosting this event. So I know I'm a little biased. I think it was the best year yet. So if you do have some time, I put out some of our journals that have QR codes and links in there for you to access the content again, up to 30 days after the event. And it was last Thursday, so still a little bit of time there. But for those of you who maybe aren't super familiar, Dream Bank is a free community resource. It's put on by American Family Insurance, and everything we do here ladders up towards the inspiration and pursuit of dreams, in large part by helping to remove obstacles and barriers along the way. So that shakes out, I'd say, threefold, the largest being the events that we host. So we host anywhere between 6 to 15 free events a month, all organized through the lens of personal and professional development. So whether it's tactics for improving or growing your business, or maybe starting a business, maybe it's overcoming some common shared obstacles or challenges in dream pursuit. I know we've all heard it. I'm sure we've all said it. Oh man, I would love to do that, but I just don't have the time, right? We partner with subject matter experts, bring them in to speak on a variety of topics, again, to help folks pursue their dreams. In addition to the events that we host, we also function as a drop-in co-working space. So I know many of you have utilized that, continue to utilize that. If you go past the blue wall, there's a bunch of red tables, nooks, and crannies for you all to post up and have a quietish place to work. Our hours of operation are Tuesday through Thursday, 9 to 5. So you're always able to come in, pop in, meet some folks, really use that for really any reason. It's a kind of we embody the third space terminology. So a place that you can kind of hang out without the expectation of spending money. And then in addition, or lastly, kind of rounding out our offerings, we also have a very robust and interactive exhibit on site. They're always rooted in positive psychology and meant to embody some of the beliefs and values of the organization. The theme with this one is a lot of really cool design thinking concepts as it pertains to dream pursuit. So I know where I'm at right now. I know ultimately where I want to be. How do I navigate the middle part of the gap analysis, right? Which is typically the hardest part for many folks. So a lot of wonderful resources that you're able to take home and work on, and please share them with folks if you think they will find value in that. Lastly, if you folks are ever in need of meeting space, you can reach out to one of a staff member here at Dream Bank. So when we're not offering or utilizing a space for social media breakfast or our own programming, we turn it over to the community. A lot of offsite work retreats, board meetings. Really, if you're needing a space, you can reach out to us and we'll do our best to try and accommodate. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it back to Jeanette.
Thanks, Andy. Can we get one more round of applause for Andy and Dream Bank? Serendipity Labs, I don't think we have anyone here to speak from them, but we also really appreciate their sponsorship, and we hold our social media marketing awards there. If you weren't there this year, make sure to check us out next year, and also put your business, LLC or anything, or your Facebook, any of your socials, apply for it. You are invited to our annual Snowflake Soiree. So this is a super special event coming up where we're pairing up with AMA, LinkedIn Local, and several other businesses listed at the bottom of this page. Please show up and mingle and jingle. Wear your holiday finest. Let's get together, be merry, and talk about social media marketing and everything else in between. But make sure to sign up for this event. It's on December 3rd, 2025. It will be at the Sylvie, just around the corner here, from 5 to 7:30 p.m. So today we're going to get started with our presentation, Social Media Breakfast Madison Live Nonprofit Audit. We have our panels here. The nonprofit we chose this time is Operation Fresh Start. Operation Fresh Start, I see you in the audience. Will you please stand up? Thank you so much for being here. Some of their strengths. Their strengths are abundance of visuals from active projects that showcase the work of young people. They have a strong legacy of credibility built over 54 years of impact, and they have compelling success stories that highlight personal growth and community change. Some of their challenges include difficulty growing their attendance audience of young adults, potential donors, media outlets, and community members. They have limited visibility of success stories from their 54-year history, which is sad because it's a rich history and very worth sharing. Lack of professional camera equipment for storytelling and promotion. So today we hope to help them on all of those challenges and more. Goals in the next 6 months, they want to be able to spread their message and their success stories to a broader audience in Dane County so people can see the real impact of Operation Fresh Start on young people in the community. Meet our panelists. So we have our 3 panelists here today, and they're all experts in their field. We have the lovely Ashley, who is CEO and founder of Marketing Media. She is CEO and founder of Marketing Media Madison, a marketing firm dedicated to supporting small businesses and nonprofits across Wisconsin. She is a Gen Z marketing maven. She blends a fresh perspective of proven strategy to help brands connect meaningfully with their audiences. Her influence even extends to a national level. Last year, she introduced Joe Biden and attended a White House Small Business Leadership Summit. How cool is that? Now in her 3rd year as a nonprofit auditor, Ashley continues to use her heart for community and sharp marketing. Please welcome Ashley. Our next person you're probably super familiar with. Hands up in the air for those of you who recently attended Ignite 2025 Summit. I see quite a few. If the answer is yes, which clearly it is for some of you, you already know the amazing and talented Emma Roloff, co-founder and chief growth officer at Roloff Consulting. Emma is a digital transformation expert and a host of Leading Change, where she's interviewed over 300 business leaders, pretty amazing, on how to thrive in our fast-moving digital landscape. She was named AI Journal's Young Tech Leader of Leaders. That's pretty impressive. On how to thrive in our fast-moving digital landscape, she organizes how to rethink and how to grow, connect, and lead in today's world. Please help welcome Emma. And our last but not least panelist is Laura Marie Kaiser. Our final panelist is the founder of Engage Social Media. Laura launched her agency in 2018 after recognizing nonprofits need better tools for engagement, and she's building better connections ever since. She's collaborated with Foxconn, built the entire campaign and branding, I was told.
The only person to have made money from Foxconn.
And there we have it. On their Smart Cities and Smart Futures project. With 20 years in banking and a talent for combining her analytical and creative sides, Laura brings a unique blend of balanced perspective and marketing to business. Please welcome Laura Marie Kaiser. Thank you for all of our panelists for being here today and taking the time over the past several weeks to help and take a deep dive into Operation Fresh Start's digital presence. Now that we've met these incredible auditors, let's dive into the conversation. Do you want this? Probably.
Sure. Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I am super excited to be here for my third year. So thank you so much to Social Media Breakfast for having me back. And thank you so much for Operation Fresh Start for being willing to participate in this audit. Really excited to dive in today. So where we're going to start is with your website. So websites are really the first thing that someone, when they're searching out your business, is going to see, or your organization. So think of this as your digital storefront, even if you're not necessarily running a store. So where I want to start with some accomplishments are your domain rating and your backlinks. So when we're talking about search engine optimization, that's really built up of off-page, on-page, and technical. So in terms of off-page SEO, backlinks are going to be the number one factor to having a strong off-page SEO presence. So we can see here that Operation Fresh Start has 718 backlinks, which is very impressive. And all of you are able to go see how many backlinks does my organization have by using a free tool called Ahrefs. So after today, highly recommend diving into seeing how many backlinks does your organization have. And on top of that, even better is your domain rating. So think of a domain rating as really a score for how you're going to rank in search rankings against your competitors. And I know sometimes the word competitor is difficult in the nonprofit space, but when it comes down to it, you do have competitors, because at the end of the year, as an individual, as a business, I have to decide where am I going to donate my money to. So you do have a competitor, and a domain rating of 34 is outstanding. So it's actually on a range from 1 to 100. However, any score over 30 is really strong, especially when we're talking small business and local nonprofits. So definitely recommend using this free tool after today to see where is your website in terms of backlinks in that domain rating. And one thing that you can do to increase your domain rating is by doing a better job of reaching out to local orgs to get those strong backlinks. Awesome. Another accomplishment in the nonprofit space, there's a lot of content that you need to share. And sometimes it can be difficult to organize that in a meaningful way. I think Operation Fresh Start is doing a very good job of that. You have a very straightforward navigation bar that's leveraging these drop downs. And one thing that will drive me nuts is if you're leveraging a drop down and I can't click through to the page and I have to pick a drop down option. Your case is my dream, where I can select programs and it's going to drive me to a programs page. And then on the programs page, I can select if I want legacy, build academy, conservation academy, whatever it may be. So from a user experience navigation point, if you are going to have drop downs, still have a landing page that those main menu items on your nav bar are going to lead to from a user experience navigation standpoint. So really good job leveraging the organization on your website for all the content you have to share. Next, we have internal linking. So we talked about backlinks. So that's other organizations having your link on their website. Now I'm going to talk about leveraging internal linking. So I have some examples here to just show how Operation Fresh Start is currently using internal linking. So this is an example here on the About page. They have a great section that links to the programs page. On their legacy page, they link to their work sites. On their staff page, they link to the contact page. Internal linking is great because it's going to keep users on your website for longer and ultimately help them find the information they're looking for. This also helps with just like page stickiness, website stickiness. You want people to stick around for as long as possible. So I would encourage Operation Fresh Start to build that out even a bit more. So as you're looking through your website pages, those core landing pages on your navigation bar, how can you create buttons, call to actions to continuously link throughout other pages on your website? Next, we have your programs page. I absolutely love this. I think this is a great example of a way that you can leverage not so text heavy information and really providing a way for users to find the information that they're looking for. So, and we see in this graphic, this is their main programs page. We see I need my high school diploma or GED. I need my driver's license. I want a service industry career. And then those are drop-down options that then lead the user to what they're looking for. So I think this is great, especially when there's a lot of content on a website, to use a graphic like this and ultimately lead the user where they're trying to go on the website. I would even push this further and bring this into your program specific pages, just again to help with some of that text heaviness and really help users find that information quickly that they're looking for.
They're furiously scribbling notes.
And you'll get these slides.
But if they're like, whoa.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Then the last thing here for accomplishments, I absolutely love an FAQ page. So if you don't have an FAQ page on your website, you should. And I'm not saying this needs to be front facing. It doesn't necessarily need to be in your navigation bar, but it's a great page that can be used for that internal linking and just for some on-page search engine optimization. So it's a great way to incorporate keywords and then also just a benefit to the users on your website. So similar to that previous slide of how can we use that graphic kind of leading people to the information, maybe on some of your program specific pages, you're building out unique FAQs to, again, help with some of that text heaviness and really provide clear information from a question standpoint. So definitely have an FAQ page and don't be afraid to bring in FAQs on other landing pages on your website. So overall, website had lots of great things to say. So now I just want to tackle some of the opportunities. So main opportunity I'm seeing here is when you first land on a website, you want that hero image to exactly speak to what the org is doing. And so your current hero image, we can see this great image, and then underneath we kind of have that first header. Operation Fresh Start empowers emerging adults on a path to self-sufficiency through. It's cut off. Be great to, we're kind of blocking it. It would be great to move that up. I have an example of the history page here. That is a great example of a hero image where you have an H1 header, a history of Operation Fresh Start, and really strong keyword heavy supporting text. Since 1970, Operation Fresh Start has empowered more than 8,000 emerging adults to find a pathway to a family-sustaining career. So this is a great example of a hero image, and I would really replicate this format across all of your main website pages, especially that home page. Kind of alluded to this already, but there's definitely some sections that are leaning text heavy, which again, in the nonprofit space, there's a lot of information to share. So really the rule that I like to go by is no more than 4 lines of text. If it's a matter of just breaking it up into paragraphs, utilizing bullet points, using some of those design elements in FAQ, it's going to be really helpful from a readability, skimmability standpoint to have no more than 4 lines of text. And again, bringing in some of those design elements to really feel like I'm not necessarily having to jump in reading several paragraphs to get the information that I need. Now we're getting a little bit more technical in terms of search engine optimization, but when we're talking, again, I started the conversation with off-page, on-page, technical. off page being those backlinks. Something that you can do from an on-page standpoint is ensure that you're using heading tags or H tags, header tags, whatever you like to call them. And really this is just an element in your site's HTML code that indicates headings on your web page. And why this is beneficial is it signals to the search engine, like, what are these sections about? What is the hierarchy in terms of importance of information? And I kind of just used a graphic here to break down, like, this is how you'd go about tagging them. So H1's your main heading, H2 is your subheading, and H3s are kind of your subheadings. And what I've actually done here, knowing that you're using Wix, I did link a resource here to just help you actually put in some of those H tags, because it is just a simple kind of check the box thing that can be done to really help from an on-page SEO perspective. Then the final thing I have here is something that I always look at when I am doing a website audit is accessibility. And one easy way to take a look at accessibility is just to check that there's enough color contrast between the colors that you're using on your website. Not necessarily a huge deal. However, why I wanted to call this out, this orange color and then using the white text, technically for ADA compliance, it doesn't meet their ratio. And why I bring this up is because you're using it for your call to action buttons. It wouldn't necessarily be a huge deal if it was just kind of your headers. However, if you're using it for a call to action button, you really want that to stand out. So thinking about utilizing a different brand color for those buttons that may be darker could really be beneficial from just an accessibility standpoint, and then really drawing attention to those call to actions. I have included here a color contrast checker, so just a good tool to use. Again, all free tools just to check to see if you have any color contrast issues on your website. And then something I've also linked that is going to be beneficial in the long term. I'm sure you've all scrolled the website and kind of seen like an accessibility widget, something you're able to click, and then you're able to kind of change color contrast, increase text sizes. Definitely recommend incorporating an accessibility widget into your website. Just kind of helps you check some of the boxes from an ADA compliance standpoint when you don't have the time to go through and make sure you're checking all the boxes manually. Then the final thing here I have is I highly recommend to all nonprofits to build out an optimized donate landing page. So if you were to go onto your nonprofit's website right now and click donate, I'm curious how many of you would say that that link links to a third-party site that is not a URL connected to your domain. So I recommend actually building out an optimized donate landing page and integrating that donate form directly into your website. This is going to be beneficial because when it comes down to it, you're trying to sell someone on making a donation. So you need to convince them with the content on your donate page why it's worth them making that investment to your organization. So think of this as really like a sales landing page, and you're trying to sell them on making a donation, and keeping them on your website is going to be more beneficial in the long term, just to, again, keep your pages sticky, keep them around longer, and ideally push them to actually make that donation. Awesome. So that's website. And then I actually keep it going with Facebook. So we'll keep going right along. But overall, great work on website. You can see some of my recommendations got a bit more technical. I'm pushing it a bit more, but I think there's a lot of great work that's done there. And it's almost taking some of the great stuff that's done and taking it a step further. So great foundation. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Awesome. Great. So now on to Facebook, the first social media platform of the day. So in terms of Facebook accomplishments, so strong follower count and engagement. And I will say it's great to get likes. However, it's also great to get shares, because this is sharing content to audiences and people who might not already be seeing your content. So beyond just likes and comments, you're getting shares, which is great to see. Next, great use of real life imagery. When it comes down to it, people want to hear real stories and see real people. In the nonprofit space, this might be a hot take. You really shouldn't be using stock imagery. So push yourself to get that real life imagery. We can our phone cameras are great at this point. Utilize just low tech, low lift efforts, but really use that real life imagery. You have a great mix of content. Something that I sometimes see is we're just all posting like the success stories, and we're not showing us in the community, and we're not necessarily celebrating internal milestones, but you do a really great job of having that variety mix from seasonal relevant posts, those milestone celebrations, community partnership, education, your organizational culture. So really great job there in terms of the content that you're sharing across the platform. Kind of a social media basic here, but tagging, they're really leveraging tagging very well. This is helping with gain the likeness and audiences of those other pages. In terms of copywriting, you have a really consistent formatting and brand voice, which is great to see from a social media marketing perspective. One thing I will say is just be careful not to get too lengthy. You have a bit more leeway on Facebook to get more into the storytelling, but just be careful. Everyone's attention spans are shrinking by the day. So I think you're there, but just be aware of that as you continue to build out those captions. And then you're consistently posting. One lesson I like to teach when it comes to social media is consistency is key, even if it's 2 posts per week. So you're beyond the 2 posts per week, you're much more consistent than that. But just for some of the others in the room listening today, if you don't have a dedicated social media person on your team, a dedicated marketer, even if you can start with 2 posts per week, even if it's 1 post per week, some type of consistency is going to be beneficial than setting yourself up to try to post every single day and not being able to follow through week over week. So great job on Facebook. Now taking a look at opportunities. So kind of what I was saying for your website is kind of just taking everything a step further. So you have, again, great engagement in terms of those shares. So in terms of community management, it's going to be very important to, at a minimum, making sure that all of your comments are responded to. And then where you can take it a step further is when you are getting those shares on your post, commenting on the post saying, thanks for sharing. Just a simple engagement can really go a long way. And where you can take community management maybe a step further is actually just scrolling the feed 3 times per week for like 15 minutes, liking, commenting on relevant community posts or partnerships that you have throughout the community. Community management is going to be very helpful for engaging those newer audiences and attracting new eyes on your profile. Next thing here, too many posts, question mark, question mark. You see I have question marks because it's like, can there be too many posts? So the reason I bring this up is because there are days where you're making multiple posts a day and then there's a 3-day break. So what I'd recommend is rather than making multiple posts a day, just having 1 post per day and having that consistent flow. There were some instances of 3 posts per day. I definitely don't recommend that. That is getting too many. From a Facebook perspective, shouldn't be posting more than twice per day. And really that second post, if you are going to make it, should be like shared content from another account. So just really trying to spread out that content so you're not having those multiple posts on one day and having that consistent posting schedule across the week. Then next I have here is, I know one of your challenges was how do we share these stories, right? So an idea that I have is starting a Fresh Start Stories series where you're actually telling the history of Operation Fresh Start and its success stories. So really think of this as simple short form videos. Again, it can be filmed on an iPhone. We don't need any fancy tech here. Interviewing staff, community partners, emerging adults. So if it's board members, if it's the executive director, whoever it may be, just doing those short interviews to tell not only the stories of those emerging adults, but also the story and the history of Operation Fresh Start. And you could ultimately create a fun Fresh Start Fridays, where this is where you're continuously posting those Fresh Start stories. Then the last piece I have here, again, getting a bit more technical because you're doing a lot of great work on Facebook, is integrating a meta pixel into your website. So the meta pixel is ultimately a piece of code that helps you track, optimize, and create audiences when you're ready to start advertising on Meta. So even if you're not advertising now, the meta pixel, again, a free tool, something that's created in Meta, and then the code is integrated onto your website. And from the day that it's integrated, it's going to start tracking that data. So the sooner you have it, the better, because then should you start running ads, you're going to have all that data that was collected already by your meta pixel. So again, a bit more technical, kind of long-term recommendation in terms of an opportunity, but really great work overall. And I think it's a matter of just kind of refining, fine-tuning what you're already doing. So great work.
Next. Okay. So now, oh yes, give her a round of applause. Also, does anybody have any questions for Ashley?
We'll have question time to it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
You talked about the not posting more than once a day. Where do you start applications and just schedule posts? You create them ahead of time, create 60 of them and just post one a day from that on that.
I absolutely love scheduling posts. And for the clients that I do their organic social media, I essentially work like about a month ahead. So at the end of January, all of their February posts are ready to go. So if you have the capacity, and a lot of times it helps be more efficient when you're able to schedule posts. So utilizing Meta Business Suite, again, that's a free tool that you can post across Facebook and Instagram. And then there's also some really valuable, not too much of an investment, third-party tools that you can use that you could then post across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and your Google business profile. So I'm a huge fan of scheduling tools, absolutely.
And I would suggest if you're going to do a scheduling tool, looking at something like Buffer, where you can, to Ashley's point, schedule across all of your different social media platforms, and then even be able to repurpose content, because that's going to be a lot of what I talk about here when we look at Instagram and TikTok and some of what Ashley was even saying on the Facebook side. And you can make small tweaks to it for each platform as you're going through that scheduling process. And even if you don't have the ability to schedule out a full month in advance, say it's a Friday and you're like, ooh, let's get a couple of posts out so there's content there for the weekend. Just sit down and schedule out those 3 so that the content keeps rolling over the weekend, even if you can't get like a full month ahead of time ready to go. So for Instagram, a lot of the same principles of what we're seeing on Facebook come across over to Instagram as well. You guys have a strong follower count. You're consistently posting 5 to 7 times a week. I don't have the same concerns about multiple times a day on Instagram or TikTok. Those platforms are meant to create as much content as possible. So in that avenue, you don't necessarily have to focus on the distribution of 1 a day, but I would prefer 1 a day over a day with 3 and a gap with no content, because especially with a platform like Instagram, people are going to be checking that over the weekend. Same with Facebook. And you want to have that slow drip of your content, Operation Fresh Start, in front of their face every time they log onto the platform, essentially. You guys do a really nice job of, when you are working collaboratively with other organizations, of tagging them and engaging with those posts. You can see here, I have a screenshot of like the highest engaged post that I could find in recent time was a collaborative post with another nonprofit. You're obviously able to pull from their audience in that perspective. And so that's been a really nice way for you guys to gather more engagement. I would say from like the engagement standpoint, it's not as high on Instagram as it seems like it is on Facebook. And we'll see the same thing within TikTok as well. So anything that you can do, well, I'll get to that in a second. And then same thing from the copy standpoint. You guys have really strong copy. Similar to what Ashley said, sometimes it is on the lengthier side, but the benefit of that from an SEO perspective is now Instagram is categorized for you. So your posts will show up if they have relevant search content, and Instagram is kind of moving towards that like search platform side of things in a similar light to what we've seen TikTok do. So the post content is great from that standpoint of being able to maybe get people from a search engine to your Instagram account, but maybe playing around from time to time with things that encourage a little bit more engagement. So starting it out with a question, having strong calls to action, maybe doing things that are a little bit lighter and asking questions and encouraging people to interact with you, especially something like your stories on Instagram. Maybe it's just a picture of someone in the office with a quick question on it to try and get people to interact with you and engage with you on that side of things. One of the things that I think is, well, I'll come in here. So one of the things that is changing with Instagram from what we've traditionally seen in the response to TikTok is they are heavily pushing video content. And they have made some substantial shifts to the platform to drive discoverability through Reels, to optimize the grid so that Reels are optimized as opposed to imagery. And all of those shifts kind of change the way that you could be interacting with that platform if your goal is discoverability and getting access to more people. So you can see here on the grid up in the corner, some of your graphic imagery that might look really nice as someone's scrolling their feed on your page, when they go there, it gets cut off because of the way that Instagram has started to push towards that video side of things. So keeping that in mind when you're creating static content or taking pictures for your Instagram, instead of doing it landscape now, taking vertical photos, doing things to try and optimize that grid a little bit would be to your advantage. And then also leaning into that video side of things. So I really like some of the suggestions that Ashley gave in terms of like, you know, your history series. I'm a big fan of series content because to that point of batching content, you can record a bunch of it, clip it up, and use that as continuous content that pulls people along, hopefully gets them coming back for more. But I think that there's a couple of really cool things that you guys can do both across, and you'll see some of this listed on both Instagram and TikTok, where you guys can lean into the young people that are around you. Tap them on the shoulder, ask them what things there are trending, what they want to be a part of, and bring them in. And I saw some of that on on your TikTok, and we'll get to that. But I think that there was one cool video that you guys had that was like a time lapse of people like, you know, smoothing out cement that like was satisfying. That one had a high watch rate on TikTok in comparison to some of the other videos. For anybody that knows it, the like show me my money, I think is what it is. That one had higher, you know, like those things that don't make a lot of sense to me.
6, 7.
Yeah. But all of those things that you can lean into that let the students and the young people that are in the program show their personality and show the spark for being a part of the organization, I think will go a really long way both on Instagram and on TikTok. I mentioned here like those calls to action that spark conversation. So thinking through like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be directed towards people that would always use your services, but thinking of ways that you can support and educate young people, whether they're going to come and work with you guys or not. So career tips and tricks, little like hacks for adulthood and those kinds of things might be a really nice way for you guys to up that engagement and get interaction from people. And to Ashley's point, get those shares. So if you share a really helpful interview tip and it's applicable to anybody at any stage in their career, that kind of stuff gives you like this little edge of like sharing and potential virality that becomes a piece where you become an educator beyond just the people that are receiving your services, and it gets you in front of a bunch of other people from that perspective as well. I'm just going to kind of keep going from the TikTok perspective because I think my recommendations for both platforms are pretty entwined right now because you're doing a really great job with the core Instagram components. It's these video pieces that I think you have the biggest opportunity with. So when we look at the TikTok page, you have a really nice spread of different kinds of content, but the consistency has dropped off on TikTok. And naturally, because video is hard and it takes like building that muscle to get into the video game. But I think, again, like I was saying, I saw this woman here in a couple of your videos, and it seemed like she was taking the reins of like doing some fun collaborative stuff in the audience. I brought up the satisfying video that you guys had here, but then also like video clips of people giving their speeches, telling their story, that kind of thing. I think we have an opportunity to step into some of that storytelling a little bit more, and specifically an opportunity for you to do some of the fun stuff that you guys are seeing in the like trending on TikTok or Instagram and making it related to what you guys are doing. So for example, there's this video of everybody doing CPR. Well, right now, I think Golden in K-pop Demon Hunters is the same beat. And then like I've seen videos of people that are like paramedics doing like what Gen Z sings while they're doing, you know, what millennials sing, and then so like there's fun ways for you to take what you're doing in the community and doing with your members and like bring that forward and make it kind of trending and fun from that perspective. And I think, so I used to be a teacher, and I've also pulled a bunch of people into social media begrudgingly. And the more that you can get people to show their personality as they're doing it, the more authentic content that you're going to have, but then the more you're going to get people coming to you with ideas. So if you pull people into a big collaborative video, and sometimes it can be goofy, like it doesn't have to be overly serious. It can be something like, and well, I mean, this is a bad example, but like I have in a previous business, we had people working around the country. We had everybody come in and make a statement about their state and had people guess in the comments what state they were from. Obviously, people are going to be all from Wisconsin, but doing small things like, you know, tell us about one of your hobbies, but don't tell us what it is. And cutting that up and having people guess what the different hobbies are in the comments, whether that's on TikTok or Instagram, are fun ways for people to start showing their personality, for you guys to get to know your members better, for them to get to know your staff better. And it's this really nice culture building piece. But once you get somebody hooked into doing that and they realize the camera isn't scary, then all of a sudden they'll come back to you and they'll be like, okay, I saw this trend and I think we could do it this way. And it'll start to build on itself. And then going back to that scheduling idea or that repurposing idea, every time you make a video, that's a post on Instagram, it's a post on TikTok, and it's a post on Facebook. And it gives you that content, but then also you just maybe tweak the description a little bit. Maybe you've got more of a rich, deep description on Facebook where we have the attention span for it, but you ask a quick question in TikTok to try and drive the engagement. And so you can repurpose that content across the board. But it doesn't always have to be trending content. It doesn't always have to be funny. And to Ashley's point that she made, you do have competitors and you are selling. My thought process and our stance at Roll Off Consulting on how to sell is to embody being your customer's favorite teacher. So in your scenario, teach people about the work that you're doing, but also teach them about the stuff that you're teaching within Operation Fresh Start. So again, things where you're giving people tips and tricks, you're giving advice on career components, giving people facts about, you know, high school graduation rates and why you guys are doing the work that you're doing. Maybe it's 5 things that you probably forgot from when you took your driver's test that people like commonly mess up on during their test. Like those little pieces where you're teaching and kind of embodying that education piece, I think could go a really long way. And then that's, those are really nice ways, to Ashley's point, it doesn't have to be fancy. It's an iPhone, it's somebody talking at it, it's putting a little bit of text on screen, which you can do in app if you don't have an external editing platform. And then you just set it in TikTok so that it exports, and then you can repurpose it everywhere else. So you don't have to do anything overly onerous from the content creation standpoint of it to start building traction. The most important thing on both Instagram and TikTok, though, is going to be that consistency. I can share from my own personal experience. I started an Instagram for my own brand like 10, 11 months ago because TikTok was going to go away and I was sad. And I started with all of my viral content on TikTok thinking like, oh, this will be easy peasy to build. Nobody watched anything for the first 10 months. You guys already have a base of engaged followers that are watching and liking. So if you can turn up the volume on that on Instagram and start showing up consistently on TikTok, it will build quickly. So you don't necessarily have the follower count on TikTok, but that's okay because TikTok is easier to build a follower count on and easier to get that discoverability than Instagram is naturally. But you have to show up and almost every day on TikTok and Instagram to build the audience right now. And videos are going to be the best way for you to do that. The other piece that I would add to this, well, two. One, anytime that you're shooting for Instagram as well, flip the camera, or TikTok, flip the camera and make it vertical like I was talking about on Instagram. Because when you do, you guys had a great video here It actually had more views than most, but it's hard for us to see the faces. It's hard for us to see the people and connect that way. So if you can film it vertically and move across the group and those like collective videos and give people the chance to connect with the people that are in it, that's going to be really powerful. But then again, also, especially with TikTok, anything you can do to run it almost as if it were a personal account, not a organizational one, is going to perform better and it's going to get more engagement. And that, I don't mean like tell people about your lunch for the day, but like showing, again, anybody that's going to be posting, showing their personality, giving people glimpses into a day in the life in the office, and just experiment with a ton of different content to figure out what's going to work. Sounds odd to say, but I think it's the Wauwatosa Library. I'm going to look it up after. Milwaukee Public Library too. Like a lot of Milwaukee's libraries are hitting it hard on TikTok and starting viral trends. But things like really simple things like the trust fall. I don't know if you guys have seen the trust fall trend. That started at a library in Wisconsin. So finding those accounts too that are maybe not exactly the same or your competitors in that sense, but have similar resource allocations, similar kind of like excitement level to the organization that they're running, and looking at what they're doing and how they're approaching TikTok is going to be a really valuable tool for you. But that one was, faking a trust fall, stepping forward and making a statement about like, whoop, you can't trust everybody, but you can trust us to help you get your license or graduate, get your whatever it might be. Yeah. So there's lots of fun ways for you to do that. And then again, you get to pull in people's personalities and make it feel personal and give people something to connect with. All right. Your turn, ma'am.
Thank you. Can I actually have the three of you come up here for a second? I feel like I would love to hear real quick your names, your roles, and just give us a real brief thing about what Operation Fresh Start really is.
Yeah, so I'm Jody Wires. I am the development director for Operation Fresh Start. So we serve young people who are ages 16 to 24 on a path to self-sufficiency through mentoring, education, and employment training. And we've been around for 55 years serving Dane County community.
My name is Nina Zarillo, and I'm the development specialist at Operation Fresh Start. Jody kind of hit the nail on the head. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
What is your role?
Development specialist. So I work kind of on the fundraising side of things, donor relations, event planning, and things of that nature.
I am Haley Hostin. I am the communication specialist, so I run all of our social media. Yeah. I also do our newsletters, and just the one that needs to be out and taking pictures and more video and all kinds of good stuff. So, yeah. Well, sometimes it's difficult because we have our supervisors out on site take the video and they'll send it to me.
So you get to teach them.
Mhm.
One thing that I would add in that avenue, knowing that it's sometimes people out in the field and maybe aren't as coachable. If you don't, like if you're in TikTok, let's say you start in TikTok, or do you have some sort of editing platform that you have available?
Maybe.
Okay, so I use CapCut, which is, yeah, and it's easy to use, but it's incredibly similar to TikTok's native editor. So if you don't want it, for anybody that doesn't want to have a editing platform, I create by and large almost all of my content there, and then again just save it to my camera roll and repurpose it. You can caption it in there, you can cut it, you can add transitions, effects, all of that kind of stuff. Even if you've got one of those horizontal videos, if you can even just zoom in and then kind of like scroll throughout it, you can time that scroll within TikTok's editing to be able to do that. And then you can get whatever video content you've had. It might not be super crisp, super clear if they're not like shooting it in 4K and you're zooming in. But again, our phones are nice enough at this point where you can zoom into it and kind of go from there. But I think if you've got that, I would heavily suggest just spending time like zooming in and doing the edit there. And
we have more content coming to our YouTube shortly on how to do that editing and TikTok. So keep an eye out.
I would also say Canva also has great tools to do that too. And they actually have an app that you can install within that, and you can actually change the resolution. And so it'll higher pixelate the resolution in there too. And that's all free.
And I was going to say, like, we're newer on the TikTok platform. And one of the things we were kind of trying to do is to really have it kind of participant led. And because we're always trying to figure out ways that we can engage that participant voice into what we do. And so being that, you know, they know all the trends and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of speaks to why it's not as consistent, because it really is kind of dependent on if it's participants who are feeling more comfortable doing this, or if they're more shy. And, you know, because every, 9 to 10 months, we're kind of getting whole new kind of groups of different individuals. So now we know, like, yeah.
Where you say,
Yep.
everybody come to us with an idea, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a huge prize, but whoever gets the most views,
Yeah.
whoever gets the most
Yeah.
engagement,
Yeah.
gets some sort of something, and you'll be shocked at how quickly the creative ideas start to
Incentivize.
Right.
grow.
Exactly.
Gamify.
Yep.
Gamify. And you can have content that layers into it when there's
Yeah.
no other content coming in.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we also know that we have to kind of create our own and not kind of rely on them.
Yes.
So
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Clap for them. Thank you for being here and for being vulnerable. All right, I'll just stand here if you're willing to scroll through for me. So we're going to talk about LinkedIn. Raise your hand if you have a LinkedIn page. Raise your hand if you're active on it. Do you guys know what I mean by active? I mean, like, literally posting, engaging on other people's content, and following up on your own content. Now raise your hand if you're active. Okay, I lost a few hands there. So it's really important to be consistent with LinkedIn, as my awesome panelist mentioned. Consistency is also really important on LinkedIn. And I think one thing that the word itself wasn't specifically used, but the reason why you should not post multiple times on Facebook is that you're poaching your own content, your own audience. If you're putting something out and then you put on something else, nobody's going to see the first thing you put out. So just keep that in mind, that you really want to give each thing you put out time to be able to bloom and get exposure in the world. So about LinkedIn, great attention getting. I noticed that this logo was used on LinkedIn and you don't use it anywhere else. So I like the logo, by the way. So I don't know if this was an old one or a new one, but it's very nice, fresh, and attention getting.
I think because it fit better in like the little logo box or whatever.
Yeah, but if somebody from not in your organization, they might think it's a completely different organization. So you really want to have consistency across all the platforms of your logo, your brand image, your voice. That's going to be kind of really important. So there's also anybody that works with logos can help you take your other logo and kind of, maximize it to each different platform. So if you need help with that, reach out to any one of us. I'm sure we can kind of guide you on that too. So 1,000 followers is a great start. 82 associated members who have Operation Fresh Start associated with LinkedIn, which builds good reputation. Well, I won't just read the whole thing to you guys can actually read, but consistent tagging of corporations shown in post too, I thought was really nice as well. And then great that you're getting the faces in the photos, because obviously when you're a service-based organization, it's really important to have that community. I see community, I see people, I see faces. So it's really important, I think, to get across. You guys know what your history is and what your story is and what your goals are, but people that are coming across you on social media may not. So I think it's really important that you show faces and show your story and your brand voice and what you want to get across. And again, the semi-consistent posting, again, sometimes it's a week in between posts and then sometimes it's once a day. And I get is too that it's events sometimes that you're at, and sometimes it's good to take several photos or several videos and then you post one the day of and you thank all the people that were there, but that's also good evergreen content. You can repurpose that, or you can take some of the videos and maybe like a week later reliving the great time we had with blah, 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 blah. Or if all three of you were at an event, you post your video from the first day and you talk about your perspective, and then they talk about it a week later and they say, oh, this is what we got out of it. So glad. And we met blah, 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 blah. And so getting the people that are involved with Operation Fresh Start actually posting their own content so that each individual person that's involved with Operation Fresh Start is also reinforcing that brand on LinkedIn.
And more than just reposting. And more than just reposting, having, even if you take 10 photos and you send them out and you're like, everyone grab your favorite and post it, have your team share their own original content as opposed to taking what you're doing on the page and resharing it. And then in the opposite effect, when you have your team posting that content, then you reshare it from the Operation Fresh Start page because they're going to naturally get more engagement and more views.
Yeah, it's all reinforcement. So if you think of it as a family, if you've got a family and you guys are all talking about, oh my God, I had so much fun on this cruise and we did this and we did this and we did this, and you're all tagging each other, it's like, oh my gosh, you all had a great time. You were all on the same page. You were all da 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 da. So just keep in mind the impression that you're giving. And if you've got people that are on LinkedIn, do you guys have your own individual platforms on LinkedIn? Are you posting Operation Fresh Start content? Big.
And get those board members to engage too.
Yes, yes. Anybody who's associated with these 82 members, they should all be posting. If they're not, why are they members of Operation Fresh Start? So that's another important message that you can get across to them internally. Hey, if you're part of the team, be part of the team. All right, next. Okay, opportunities, inconsistent use of logos. Like we saw it too, you've got the step and roll, obviously that's got the other logo. But then if you're doing a post and then you've got two different logos on the same post, people are going to get confused. And again, with attention span, the last thing you want to do is have people go, okay, I'm confused. Is this a new logo? Is this an old logo? Is this a different company? Limited engagement could be increased with additional steps. So more interaction of the followers, like we were talking about. If you go, there were some events that you went to where you tagged one person, but then there was other people shown in the picture. That would have been a great opportunity to tag all those people and even say, hey, I'm going to put this on LinkedIn. Can you go search for it and engage with it? Can you comment on it? Can you share it to your platform? Can you add your thoughts about it, your perspective of the event? So really it's just kind of like we were all talking about, like getting other people to interact with your posts and having other people post content for you as well.
One thing that I like to call the mom likes is like loving you like only a mother could. If you have like Slack, Teams, that kind of thing, even if it's a core group of like 5 to 10 people at Operation Fresh Start, or maybe you've got access to the board in some capacity in that way, having a core group of people that will engage with it quickly, comment on it, and even if it's like the same people that are engaging with it and commenting on it, just that activity kickstarts it and pushes it out to other people. So I always like to have like that core group of people in a company that's engaging with the company page so that it shows that there's life there.
Yeah. Especially the communications person who's in charge of social media. Raise your hand if that's you. You guys didn't see it, but he went like this. So, and I think the really important thing is that it's engaging with the people that are tagging your content, but if you're not asking people, they're not going to do it. So it's literally kind of reiterating to people all the time and saying, hey, we're putting out content. Please engage with it. Please be a part of the team. Show the love, because it's a community of people. And it sounds like you got a great family together.
Now, is that just a LinkedIn? Is that just something you want to emphasize for LinkedIn or for other platforms too?
All of them.
Okay.
Definitely all of them. Like there was a girl that I heard, raise your hand if you heard about the girl that just died on a cruise ship. Anna Kepner. Yeah, see, it went viral. It went viral on TikTok. So I scrolled out, I found her TikTok. Then I went down a rabbit hole and found her dad's TikTok and all these people that were talking about her. And it got me sucked in because I heard about the story. And then TikTok was the best place for me to find more information about what was going on. Am I going to find her LinkedIn page and learn about that? No. So it just depends on what kind of content you're looking for. It's going to be in different places. But engaging on all these different platforms with all these different people that may be involved is going to be the best way to go. Yeah. And so posts seem to go in streaks, and definitely, again, more consistency. I think that's clear across all of these. 2 or 3 posts, I would say a week, with supplements from employee engagement posts. Yeah. So would encourage tagging of all people that are shown in the photo. Again, like this one. It's a little on the low res side. Sorry, I didn't high res it. But tagging these people, for example, that were in this post. So you've got the Goodwill, Easter Seals, Minnesota, and the Gap School, and the Youth Build Global, and you added some great hashtags. But then who are these people? And like this kind of a picture is like, well, what exactly was going on in this picture? If you don't have people doing stuff, it's kind of hard to relate to, okay, it's a picture of a building with some machines.
LinkedIn is a platform. Does it matter if you tag people in the post versus the comments?
For those of you who couldn't hear, he asked if it was important to tag in the post versus the comments. I would say both, especially if you want this to show up in somebody else's feed. So like if you do a post today, which I highly encourage everybody to do a post about your experiences today and take a great picture. Yeah. So you would tag, like theoretically, you would tag the three of us and Dream Bank, and maybe also our companies that we represent, because it'll show up on the feeds of all of those things that you tag. Yep, and of course, yes. Social media breakfast, and Live Well video, of course. Faith Day, Die. Oh my God, I always get your name wrong. So sorry. So I think but if you, for example, say, oh, and I was really excited to see Laura Beck and Steph Shanks there too, you might not want that to be featured in the post, but then you could tag them in the comments so that they could see it. So it's kind of like a primary, I would say, and a secondary.
One thing to be careful of though is if in your post, everybody has seen the wall of tags at the bottom. If you don't get engagement from those people, LinkedIn's algorithm says this is spam and it penalizes. So that's where, like, if you're going to tag a lot of people and you don't know if those people are going to engage, that would make more sense in the comments, or tagging people that you know will go and engage with the post after. Because if you do the wall of tags or you tag a bunch of people and like maybe you tag a bunch of companies and those companies don't engage with the post, the tag actually acts not as a favor to you. So you want to make sure that you're tagging people that are going to be engaging with the post and basically using that as your flag for them to go engage.
Yeah. What I think it's on Facebook, like you can like tag where it goes like to everyone kind of thing, or
Don't do that. I literally have to
do that. Yeah.
stop following when they do at everyone. I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand this. But I would say if you're not sure if a company is active, go look at it first. Because if you go to, and this is a great thing for you to probably do before you do something like this for the day, look ahead of time and say, who's actually active on LinkedIn that is going to be beneficial for me to post. If you notice that Youth Build Global has a LinkedIn page, but they haven't posted anything for 3 years, don't tag them, and maybe say, hey, do you have any people that work for Youth Build that are active on LinkedIn? Then I can tag them instead. And you can still put the name in there, but just don't tag them, because that'll act as a deterrent. Yeah. So here's example, Justin and Corey from Operation Fresh Start, because that's who these people are, right? You didn't tag them. That would have been great. If they're assuming they're active on LinkedIn, but you're going to push them to be active. Okay, but give them a little nudge. Give them a little nudge. Tell them how important it is to be part of the team.
We might need a staff meeting.
Well, and
Engage people.
so the thing that's interesting too is there's a lot of people that work with social media that we're willing to come in, and I personally, I'm guessing you would too, do presentations, and it's almost like a LinkedIn 101. Some people don't post because I don't know how. I don't know what to post. I'm not comfortable. I don't know what to do. So we come in and we say, here, let me take the scaries out of it, and we'll make it really easy and just show you what to do. And then people are like, oh, I didn't know it was this easy. Yeah. So sometimes if people have a page but they're not active on it, it's because they're just scared and they don't know what to do.
A lot of our staff don't really use social media a lot, which I guess would be a growth point for us.
Yeah, there you go. Another opportunity. Yep. Oh, we can go on to the next one. Oh, look at this. Look at this post. What a great photo. So did a great job of tagging Jody, used a great little emoji, not too many, but just enough to kind of be attention getting and break it up. Development specialist. Nina was also tagged. Nina, did you engage with the post? If you are tagged in the post in the primary tag position and you don't engage, that's a lost opportunity. But you can you can go home and do it as soon as we leave. It's okay. So if you're tagged in the primary post and you have a vested interest in seeing this succeed, my personal suggestion would be to celebrate it, not just like it, but like celebrate it, because like is kind of generic, right? But if you love it or celebrate it. So then I would also do a comment on it, like, congrats, Nina, you're awesome, blah, 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 blah. And then share it on your own page and add your own content as well. So lots of opportunities there. Go next one. Great opportunity to tag all 32 people. Obviously not all in the primary post, but like you can actually go through and do the wall of tags in the comments and that will not work against you in the algorithm. So we're only talking the primary post and we're talking the wall of tags. But again, it's having these people engage with this post too that would be extremely helpful. This only got 9 engagements. But again, you can go back and edit it, which is great. You can go to the next one. Encourage people in the photos to smile. Because this looks like everybody's miserable and depressed. And I'm sure they weren't.
But sometimes it's not.
I literally find ways to be like, hey guys, this isn't a mugshot. And that usually makes people smile a little bit. So think of like, if anybody here had kids and they brought their kids to the photo studio and it was like, and they always have a little rubber ducky or something going on with the dog to make them whatever. Literally, whatever you need to do to just get them to like break it. But they will smile if you incentivize them. Yeah. Well, you got to teach them. Teacher, be the teacher. Go ahead. Extra step could be to brand the photo for free in Canva. So whatever logo you decide to use and keep going forward, go ahead and just add that on there somewhere and brand the photos that you're putting out on the social media platform, because anytime somebody then engages with it, they're going to have that logo on there. And then recommendations for Twitter. So 754 followers, which isn't small, but again, it's the consistent posting. So if you're going to be on Twitter, yeah, got to be a little bit more consistent on it. If not, I would say just take it down.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
Because otherwise, if people are tagging you and you're not responding, then it looks bad. Stick to one logo, keep the brand consistent. Again, resharing and reformatting from all the other platforms that they talked about. And then move this box to the top of the newsletter so that people don't have to get all the way to the bottom before they realize you have other platforms. And encourage people to follow you on multiple platforms.
As far, I mean, you know, 'cause all of this takes time.
Yep.
So from that standpoint, like, is for a nonprofit and kind of like our overall, like, should we even invest in Twitter anymore? Should we take it down?
If you're not invested, I would say no. I would say take it down.
I would say no.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, because I know back in the day, it was more like a media thing that people would still utilize it.
Yeah.
So if that's still the point that should, like, if we're gonna use it, obviously,
Yeah.
consistency. So if that's a place that media still kind of goes to, like, grab stories or grab content, or should we not just leave it?
I would think it was better for you to just email them press releases and stuff versus trying to put things on Twitter and hope that they see it. So last suggestion too for Twitter is obviously nobody could really, it's kind of what they were talking about too with the vertical photos where it's this. It's optimize one of these instead of trying to put a big collage when somebody can't see anything. And then next. There we go.
Thanks. Anyone have questions?
Emma, question for you. When reusing content, a la Lindsay Sterling has a dance that she does in the same dance in 250 locations. I'm making up the number, but it's enough of them that I unsubscribed and unfollowed her across multiple platforms. Is there a sort of maximum limit to doing something like that and reusing content, or is that depend on the content that you're sharing?
I think it depends on the content that you're sharing. I don't want to like shout at everybody there. Okay.
She told me to be close.
I don't want to. So when I would pick a primary platform where so maybe because of follower count, Facebook is your primary content or your primary platform. And then maybe from like a video vantage point, pick one other primary like platform. So for me, TikTok is my primary platform. I create a bunch on TikTok. Most of it is repurposed to Instagram because I've found that people that are following me on Instagram are likely not TikTok people. And then I will pick certain posts from TikTok to then put on my LinkedIn, certain posts to go to YouTube. So I would say, again, like have one spot where you experiment. So maybe that's TikTok right now. And you're like, there's not a huge audience. Let's experiment. Let's see what fits. We get discoverability. We can see what resonates with people. We'll create a bunch of content there. Then we'll take the top performing videos from TikTok and bring them over and mix them in with the content that we have that's like static imagery and promotional stuff onto Instagram and Facebook. And that way you're not hitting your audience with the exact same content on every platform every single day. You have a place to experiment and figure out what works. But truthfully, people pick a favorite platform and they might follow you across different things, but I'm not going to sit and scroll on Instagram the same way I do on TikTok. My scrolling platform is TikTok or LinkedIn. And so that would be my thought process.
My other thing too is like for work purposes and professional things that people might want to see and maybe a touch of personal, I do LinkedIn. But then sometimes I'll put something on Instagram and I'll think, oh, this actually would be good for LinkedIn, but I put a different kind of a spin on it. So I think it's a question of making sure that when people go to different pages, they're seeing different things and not you're taking one content and splattering them across all the platforms every single day or 3 times a day.
That's fair. My TikTok posts don't have the same caption that same video would have on LinkedIn. Usually I'm expanding in LinkedIn so that because there are people that want to read and watch, whereas on TikTok, people aren't going to sit and read a long caption. They want to watch the video, comment, and move on. So just like that variation for each platform. I think you had a question as well. Okay. Oh, Genevieve's on the move. Sorry.
Hi, I have a Facebook question specifically about Facebook Live. When is a good time to do that, if ever? And what would be like the longest video you'd want to do on Facebook Live? Is there a time limit to it? What would you cut it off at?
I would say if you're having, so I guess Social Media Breakfast Madison is a great example of an event that goes live and it makes a lot of sense. So if there's going to be an audience that you know can't attend in person, then that's going to be a signal to you that a live is going to be a good option. I would say an event pushing over an hour, that might be a stretch. And one thing with going live is it can be difficult if it's going to be like a long 1 hour live. There's a great tech setup here and there's someone who's managing the live. So just know that you need to have a bit more on the back end to really be prepared to share a Facebook Live that's going to be impactful. But an example that is, I think, great, I work with a client that does like a pop-up resale event. So she goes live when the floor is full, and then she goes live when the floor is empty at the end of the sale. And it's a quick, like 1 minute video. So there's an opportunity to like go live for a very short span. If it's just something that you kind of want to bring attention to, you don't maybe have the tech set up. But if you're having an event where you know people aren't going to be able to attend in person, just know there's going to be a bit more of a lift from a tech side, but there is going to still be opportunity. And then those lives are saved. Then they go to videos on your account. That's just more content to utilize.
So I had read that on LinkedIn, the algorithm has changed, that it's optimizing videos more so now, as all platforms. Does it matter if it's more of like a raw form video versus a animated photo video?
I'll take this one. I would say play with the content because it really depends on your audience. Content that you put out, if I put out, I could spend hours making the perfect little 2-minute reel and put it out on LinkedIn and get no engagement, spend 5 minutes throwing something together and putting it out and it goes viral. So I would say play with your audience and your content and play with different things. Canva has some free editing tools. CapCut has free editing tools. And I would say just play with it because it really depends on your audience and what you're throwing out there to support it. So like between the captions and the tags and things like that.
LinkedIn's push towards short form video is specifically vertical short form video optimized for their trends that they have. So you aren't necessarily going to see, like 9 months ago when I was here giving a presentation, I told everybody start doing short form video on LinkedIn now. Then they switched it and they made it so that it funnels specific videos into these trends, which actually, now that we're talking about it, could be a good spot for you to get inspiration, because there's things about like interview questions and those kinds of things that you can create content around. If you are creating within that, like those trends, you have huge discoverability bump. If you're not creating within those trends, don't be surprised, even though LinkedIn is saying we've optimized for video. It's LinkedIn, so they optimize for things and it doesn't always like pan out. So I would say use video, and if you're looking for that big discoverability bump, see if there's a way for you to fit into one of the trends that they have. So today I did a get ready with me video. That might get there, it might not. I don't know. Unfortunately, James edited a video for me as a joke on a day in the life. That one got picked up and has almost 1 million views now, and it's him making fun of me the entire time. So like if you can fit into one of those, it's really good, but that's going to be where you're going to get that discoverability bump.
And spend time doom scrolling on these platforms, because if you don't know what everybody else is doing and you don't know what's trending, you're not going to know what's going to work.
Stories, because like personally, I find myself, especially on Instagram, kind of looking at more stories throughout the day than even scrolling in my feed.
I would say the audience is definitely both, because it depends on if you're putting out. Also, my suggestion too, especially like Instagram, don't just put one story and just wait for it to go viral.
Yeah.
If you've got I would put like a series, like she was talking about before with the series. I'd put a series of, you have 5 or 6 different things that all string together, and you put 5 or 6 stories that are all kind of going together, because then you're always going to be in the front thing. And is the more that for example, if I'm going on her Instagram and I'm watching her stories, they're going to put her stories up front and center for me, so that it thinks, oh, I want to see her stories more. And then I'll see her stories more. So the more you interact with the things that you like, the more you're going to see them front and center as well. But I would say combination of everything. So posts, videos, stories, keeping them fresh, keeping them, relevant. The story is meant to be up there for 24 hours. And then you can also obviously capture them into the highlights and then batch them together. But if it's something that you only, like, for example, I have a client that does alpaca fiber stuff, and it's sustainability, fair trade, yada, yada. So those posts that are like kind of evergreen, we do those as posts and put them on the grid. But if it's a flash sale, I only put that on the story, because I only want it to be up for 24 hours. And then we can capture and show all the different sales that we did. But if it's something I only want up to be up for a short time and kind of be like, hey, I just want to raise my hand and tell you something, those are more story contents. No. I would say some. Yeah. I would not say automatically do. I would say don't automatically do anything. Think of it, go very intentionally with, this is something that I want to make sure that people are also are seeing on stories. And then also when you share it, make sure you add tags into that story, and make sure you add a hyperlink so people can actually get to the original post. So if you're sharing a video and it gets repurposed onto a story, add some more fresh content to that. Don't just share it and just hit post. So make sure you say, like, if I'm doing like Judah is here, he and I did these dad joke videos and we put it on LinkedIn. I think I literally am going to wait a little bit and take that and put that on Instagram and probably share that to a story with a link to his profile on LinkedIn so people can watch more of his dad jokes. So that's how you engage with other people. Even though we did it together, it was one of those things where I want to promote him and get more people to follow him and his dad jokes.
Hi.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. Mine is away from the video, but more towards like Instagram. And I saw a sample of it on the Instagram slide where it's about an upcoming event or something that people have to register, buy tickets for. So I create a lot of that creative for my team. And I was wondering, I usually create a post and I try to make it as simple as possible and then put like the description and elaborate like on the post at the bottom. But I've seen also like some people have like flyers where there's like the program description, the time, like a lot more details on the story or even on the post itself. What's your recommendation? Because sometimes I struggle with like how much information do I put on the image versus the bottom? Because like sometimes I don't even read an entire program description, time, date, Zoom link, all that stuff. And so creating an infographic versus just like a simple post with like the details at the bottom, I guess, like what would be a good balance? And then sometimes I also struggle with like the size of the font, like how big should it be so that it's like legible? I don't know. Any tips on on that.
I can kind of speak to leveraging your website when it comes to that content. So understanding that that should really be a summary that's meant to drive traffic to a website, knowing that it needs to have a sign up, right? So in an ideal world, if you have an event or an initiative or a specific program that you're driving traffic to a website, you would have like an optimized landing page specifically for that event, for that initiative, for that program that's going to build out those details in a lot more text rather than that Instagram post. So I think leveraging like the stories, the links, but really using your website to capture a lot of that detail, because ultimately we want to be driving users to the website. So how can we do that in a meaningful manner?
Remember, people like squirrels. You just got to grab their attention and redirect them. Toddlers, squirrels.
There's one more. Yeah. So mine's kind of a two-part question. So one, I'm going to be the CEO of this nonprofit where we are helping queer people or anybody who finds themselves on the progress flag. And so now that is making social media extremely tricky because we could be penalized just for literally saying LGBTQIA, queer, BIPOC, trans, any of those things. And we have some beautiful video of like interviewing the response from our inclusive career fairs that would just be gorgeous. However, I'm honestly afraid to show faces, but yet on the other hand, representation is really important. So I'm really on this like fulcrum of which direction to go, like really lean in or just go with like showing the caption live in a video without the faces showing, but you can hear the voice and see the words. Maybe that's something. And the second part of that is there's going to be a brand refresh. And so, you know, part of that is just the logo changing just a little bit to include more of the colors, but jumbled up. So it's not exactly, you know, the pattern of the progress flag. So anybody who loves color and is an ally can like go, oh, that's so great. And somebody who can find themselves represented, be like, those are my colors. Great. And leaning on the word open a lot. So how would you go about a brand refresh storytelling with social media, knowing that we are helping marginalized communities in these tricky times?
I feel like that's a very involved question that is quicker than a question and answer. And Laura, let's follow up later because I have some really good ideas for that.
Great.
I would say one of the organizations that my client works with is Center on Halstead in Chicago, and they do a very good job of balancing that. But like what they put on a LinkedIn is different than they put out on Instagram, for example.
Yeah.
So I think check out them for some ideas of how they're doing that. But then let's follow up and let's chat a little bit more because I have more ideas for you on that.
One of my very first clients, and I still work with them to this day, is Open Door Pride, which is an LGBTQIA plus indoor county.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, they're
And
my
so,
friends.
amazing. They
I'm from Door
face
County originally.
they face very similar issues. And during Pride Month, I'm actually managing the social media profiles, so I'm seeing it. And so to the point of people being unsure if they even want to show their face, I think that's a matter of let's identify who is comfortable. Like first and foremost, who is comfortable, because I'm always from the standpoint of let's lean in, but I know internally in the organization that can be tough and I'm not in the full day to day. But can you create a post saying like, we're starting this new series where you're just going to hear our voices, because unfortunately we're in a space right now where we don't feel comfortable showing our faces. So can you lean in a way that's not so intrusive? Yeah, or confrontational when you're sharing, like be honest, and like how can you share like what you're experiencing at an organizational level, but would love to talk with you more too, just being again managing the Open Door Pride social media profile. And unfortunately it's very sad, but I'm always into the how can you lean in while still protecting the organization.
Exactly. Because like our big challenge is inviting the positive engagement and not inviting the violence and aggression. We had to cancel our inclusive career fair October 3rd because of violence and aggression that we got through people through Facebook. So we're no longer, we had to make an organizational decision to no longer post any events that we're having on Facebook. Because it's just not safe.
Right.
And so safety and security are of utmost importance, as well as telling our stories and raising awareness. So it's the really tricky balance, but so important. And it sometimes just paralyzes me, to be honest. So yeah, your help and ideas would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love you.
We have a lot of metrics to like measure our growth and whatnot. Which one should we be like focusing on for our platforms to show that we're like actually making productive growth?
Really comes back to what are your business goals. So we can obviously look at are we increasing follower count? But if we want to be driving traffic to the website, are we getting clicks? What's our engagement rate? So I would say on those platforms where you already have that strong follower count, how can you boost the engagement? Because that's just going to go hand in hand with getting more followers. So it's going to be specific by platform, going back to like, what are our business goals? On LinkedIn, are we trying to get donations? If so, then how are we tracking that we're driving traffic to our donation page from LinkedIn? On Instagram, are we trying to build that follower count? If so, how are we tracking that? On Facebook, we have this follower count, but maybe our engagement's a little low. How do we increase that engagement rate? So it's really going to be dependent on platform and how you're using those from a business objective lens.
I think she just made a really important point too, with each platform thinking through what your goal is. So something like TikTok is discoverability, more people involved, but you're probably targeting more people that might benefit from the program. Whereas LinkedIn might be a better opportunity for you to find corporate sponsorships. So again, thinking through what the goal of each one of those platforms is plays into this game of what content are we creating, what content are we repurposing, but also plays into what's the ultimate goal on that platform as well.
And I have a tendency to kind of be like, F the algorithm. Like, I realize that metrics are important, but at the end of the day, if you're getting more people involved in programs, you're getting more engagement. People are saying, oh my gosh, I saw you on X. I saw you on, TikTok. I saw you. Oh my gosh, love the content, da, 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 da. Heard about you from a friend. That kind of stuff is more important because it's butts and seats. And if you're getting more dollars and you're getting more attention, you're getting more program participants, at the end of the day, that's what matters. So metrics are a tool, but don't live and die by them. And I know we're short on time, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say we have to wrap things up. However, if you guys have more questions, please feel free to reach out to Social Media Breakfast or panelists on any of their socials. Please follow them, engage with their content, and do the same for SMB Matt as well, please.
Thank you all.
I want to give a thank you to Operation Fresh Start real quick. You guys got roasted slightly, but also not. I feel like you have a lot of great content and you're doing really great things, and you're going to continue to expand based on this feedback today. So please do not. You're doing wonderfully. Once again, Snowflake Soiree, please attend this. We have lots of great businesses joining us and collabing. Mingle and jingle. We'll have snacks, drinks, lots of people to talk to, lots of fun insights there, and networking, of course. And that's it. Thank you so much.